Yeah, I was going to talk about part of that Act 746. The case was ruled, I think, just yesterday or the day before, that Richard Chambliss, who was arrested for open carry, was exonerated. The Bald Knob City prosecuting attorney decided that they weren't going to prosecute him after all. And so do you think there's a chance that that law is going to be cleared up so that we don't have another incident like we did where a cop pulls someone over and then they have to contact one city attorney? And if you've seen the footage, the YouTube footage of Eric Valentine's body cam, he calls the one prosecuting attorney and they're not available, so he calls the White County prosecuting attorney, and the White County says, we're not enforcing the law that way. And of course there's been confusion. Several people were threatened by the police for filming them. I was one of them.
Are you asking that in the form of a question?
Yeah. Do you think that Act 746 is going to be cleared up in this upcoming session?
Do you agree that said?
Let me tell you, I was in the committee.
And this will be our last question tonight.
I was in judicial. I was in judicial when that very thing came up. And Alan Clark, a senator from Hot Springs, said, here's what we want, here's what we're trying to accomplish. We are trying to accomplish to define a journey. I'm in the committee. I don't know if anybody else in this room. You may have been, I don't remember. But I was there and I was sitting across. And he said, all we're going to do is define a journey. Because there's always been a question about what's a journey in the law that is currently written. And he was making an effort to clarify what a journey was. And from that, sprang these 1,000 different interpretations. I hope we clear it up. I hope we write it so clear that no one misunderstands. But as long as lawyers are up there and lawyers get paid to interpret it, it probably will be just as confusing when we get through with it. But I know the intent was not to create open. I know that. I was in the meeting. The intent was to define a journey. Now, somebody may have been less than honest with us. But I know exactly what the man told me. It was trying to define a journey, because a journey was historically just outside your immediate area. And now they've redefined it to travel outside your county, which is much more restrictive than what it was before, in my opinion. When it was written 100 years ago, you're riding a horse and you're going 3 or 4 miles, you need a gun. You could be robbed. You could be wild animals. There's a whole host of things that you needed a gun for. Now, you can be robbed and same thing, I guess, for different reasons, but I hope we simplify it and clear it up, because the Supreme Court eventually, I guess, will get it and they'll make a decision on it. So much for that. I mean, it's as clear as mud. They're not prosecuting in Monroe County. If you remember, in Cabot, Arkansas, they had a guy travel from Jacksonville with a gun on a Saturday night, across the county line, going to Walmart. And some lady got all antsy because she seen the gun. She called the police. There are some intent. If you're carrying one, you got to be careful. If you're brandishing it to intimidate somebody, you got a problem. The law's pretty clear about it. She got excited. She called the police. Police come down. Everything was handled textbook in a sense that, sir, can you step outside? Do you mind unloading your gun? Do you mind putting your gun in the car? We're going to write you a citation. We're not arresting you. We're not making it's not a big scene. Unlike the Ball Knob incident where things melted down. But the prosecutor, Chuck Graham, chose not to prosecute because it's so unclear. I mean, it's just so many people are confused about it. So I hope we get an answer for it. Ladies,
Oh, you just have to be very careful with it. I know what he thinks the intent was. What I've been told the intent was something completely different, which that does happen a lot in the legislature. And I think that I'm fairly certain the intent was to actually allow open carry, to make it an open carry state. And the way it was done was a little bit underhanded.
I heard the story.
Yeah, good old, I won't tell it was, but anyways, so the
Just a little old bill that don't do nothing.
It doesn't do much.
They didn't even have to say that. They didn't even have to say that. I don't even think they said anything. So, anyways, the intent was open carry. And what's sad is, and this goes back to your lawyers, which are, we've relied on our attorney generals to essentially issue an opinion. You had Dustin McDaniel issued one opinion, and then Leslie Rutledge issued another one, very different, which she didn't issue the opinion that they wanted either. It was a slightly different when it came to concealed carry. But I think a lot of it should come down to education and the fact that the state police, we fight them, and I tell them to their face, we fight them on a daily basis. They don't want open carry. And so they're doing everything they can to make sure that open carry is not allowed. And so a lot of it comes down to whether you like the law or not. What is law, and you should inform everyone down through the chain what the law is. So I don't know. I'd like to clarify it to some degree, but I can tell you it won't matter right now. We've never get it out this session out of judiciary. Wouldn't happen.
One end or the other would kill it.
One end or the other would kill it.
I feel very conflicted about all of it, all of the gun laws, because I have one. I didn't get it yet. I did a class for it to have the concealed weapon. I live by myself, and so I feel like I need to be able to protect myself. At the same time, it scares me to think that anybody can just walk anywhere with a weapon, and it's almost like where does it stop? And what does this do for our police force who are out there fighting a good fight, and they don't know, how do you tell the difference if everybody starts carrying a gun? I said if they legalize open carry at the Capitol, I'm coming. You all watch for this, because I'm coming to work in some chaps. I'm gonna have guns on both sides. But but where do we draw the line? And I don't know, because I know intellectually that there's not an increase in crime. We really are in a better place in terms of controlling crime than we have been in years, in decades. At the same time, and then the safety. Look at the last couple of weeks. I think a couple of kids have died because of accidents, because people have it in their minds, like, I've got to be safe, I always have to have a weapon. So I don't know. But one thing I do know for sure is that the interpretation is going to be continuously interpreted and reinterpreted, and that the application is going to be different for different people, depending on the county, depending on the law enforcement officer, and certainly depending on the person. Because you better believe my brother walks around with a gun on his back in Little Rock, in Cabot, in Pine Bluff. He is going to get mauled to the ground. That's just what's going to happen. Now, they may apologize later, but it's not going to happen where somebody is respecting his constitutional rights.
If he survives.
If he survives, that's right.
Because of color?
Absolutely.
Well, that guy in Cabot was a black guy. He was treated with the utmost respect, so there are exceptions.
There are always
The white guy was treated worse.
But in the bottom line with that application, when you're the police officer, and I get this, and you're out there and you see the worst of the worst every day, like that's what you are called to respond to, you see people differently. You are going to put people in boxes, and your experience has shown you when a person looks and walks like this, or people in that community, that's who I gotta look out for, and I gotta fear for my life. I wanna go home to my husband or my wife and my children at night. I get it. But then on the other side, you have real people too, who have fears. And so, certain communities don't get protected like other communities because they're poor, because it's laden with meth. People think this is a black issue. Again, most of these issues affect a whole lot of white people who aren't allowed to say, I'm poor and I need help, or, I've been mistreated by the police. So, because I can show you a whole bunch of videos of white women